Seasoned with Grace Unboxed presents Tune Up Tuesdays. This live weekly event is here to provide you and your family with tools for stronger family relationships. And now, here are your hosts, Doctors Robert and Denise Davis.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tune Up Tuesdays, presented by Seasoned with Grace Unboxed. We missed you last week, but we're happy to have you back, and we hope that each of you are having a happy and blessed new year. For our new viewers, Tune Up Tuesday is designed to provide tools and strategies to tune up, to improve, and to enhance family relationships. We want to help you gain a better understanding of your family, as well as to equip you to improve family relationships. What we are hoping is that we can be a resource as you improve every area of your family's functioning. So let's get started. Denise, would you please recap Tune Up Tuesdays for us since we did miss a week last week?
Yes, I can do that. Reading from Murray Bowens' Family Therapy and Clinical Practice, page 436. It says that when any key member of a family can accurately observe what is going on in their family, as well as the part they play in it, when they can control their own emotional reactions, when they can avoid counterattacking when they're provoked, and when they can maintain an active relationship with the other key members of their family without withdrawing, emotionally checking out, or becoming silent, the entire system will change in a series of predictable steps. So this is the essence of producing change in your family system. This is the method of coaching one person through the predictable functioning of their family system and supervising their efforts to modify their own functioning in all other relationships.
Wow.
I'm so ready to talk about counterattacking.
Oh, that's right. Today we're going to be transitioning from what we've been dealing with the last 5 weeks, and we're going to talk about our emotional reactions. And today we're going to start talking about counterattacking.
So far, we've identified all the key members of our family. We've spent time learning to accurately observe what is going on in our families. We've discussed how to observe the part we play in our family's functioning. And of course, we've talked about controlling our emotional reactions.
We spent 5 weeks, wow, 5 weeks
already
looking at controlling our emotional reactions. And so today we're going to discuss what I consider to be my area of expertise, counterattacking. That's right. When situations in the family relationship become tense and anxious, when conflict arises within our families, there is a tendency to do one of two things. That is to defend ourselves or to counterattack. And then we're going to talk a little bit more as we move forward. But as you look at it, they really are kind of like twins, defending ourselves and counterattacking, because they kind of morph into the same thing if we're not careful. And this is especially true when we begin to change our emotional reactions and responses, that is either defending ourselves or counterattacking. It becomes especially true when we start to change our emotional reactions and our emotional responses. And so for the past several weeks, we've been learning how to be more self-aware. Emotional systems, families in particular, have a particular way of functioning emotionally. And they're constantly working to maintain normalcy within the system. In other words, none of us like change. And so what we try to do is try to maintain a certain balance, but even more than that is to maintain a certain normalcy of how things function, how things operate. And this is actually done on a subconscious level. So as you work to raise your level of emotional functioning, there is a natural emotional pull away from the family. Be mindful, this pull is not withdrawing from your family to avoid stress and anxiety. This pull is away from the emotional reactions and responses that are part of the family system. So again, we're not trying to pull away so that we can withdraw or avoid, but when we become more emotionally mature, there's automatically a pulling away from the family's emotional response system, the way that things are normally done. However, even though you're not trying to withdraw or you're not trying to cut people off, to the family, it's going to appear that you're pulling away. And it's natural, it's going to happen. Families will attempt to bring you back into the emotional process and they're back into the traditional ways of functioning.
Okay, so Robert, let me describe it to them in this way. You and your close friends go out every weekend to party and get drunk, right? You decide that you're no longer going to drink alcohol, but when you go out, you're still going to go out and you're still going to party. You're just not going to drink alcohol. This one change in behavior will more than likely have an impact on the relationship, and often your friends will begin to sense a distance. So if changing one social behavior can impact the relationship, imagine how the family system responds when you throw off the emotional balance by changing your expected emotional behaviors or reactions. So as you look to become more emotionally mature, more differentiated, you have to be aware that it will have an impact on your family. Even as you improve in your emotional reactivity, as you become a calmer, more intentional person, your family will try to pull you back into the family's emotional process.
You know, as you say that, Denise, and you use the example of, someone who goes out with their friends drinking, and just that one change, you can, and there are people who are watching this right now that have experienced it. You've made some maturity changes in your life, and it wasn't an attack on your friends or your family or anything, and they just were like, you're not the same person anymore. That's kind of some of the things you'll hear. You're a different person now.
Why are you acting like that?
Yeah, why are you acting like that?
Right?
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, that's I like this. That's very normal language that you would hear. It just jumped in my mind as you were talking.
Okay. Well, if you can anticipate it's coming, then you can be more intentional on your responses.
Denise, you hit the nail on the head.
The nail.
Get my expressions together. You hit the nail on the head. The main point we've been discussing on Tune Up Tuesdays is how we need to learn to self-regulate. So then, if I can anticipate that my family will become frustrated, annoyed, defensive, angry, or attacking, then if I can anticipate this, then I can mentally and emotionally prepare to be more mature in my response to their response to my response. I want to say that again. If I can know, okay, they're going to try to pull me back in. They're going to become frustrated, annoyed, defensive, angry. They may start attacking me. When I make a response, then I can start to prepare my response for their response to my response. In other words, I can learn to be more mature in my responses. Murray Bowens, Family Therapy and Clinical Practice, page 495, and you always read from an earlier part of the book, but when you look at page 495, it identifies 3 responses that families typically give when one of its members improves their emotional functioning. There are 3 predictable steps in the family reaction to differentiation. He says that they are, number 1, you are wrong. That's the first. That's one of the responses. You are wrong.
Or some version of that.
Yeah, or some version of that.
Yeah.
The second response that families give when you start to become more emotionally mature, and that is change back. And telling you to change back can be communicated in many different ways. And the third way is, if you do not change back, these are the consequences that you are going to experience.
Wow. So in my experience, when the family attempts to pull a person back into the emotional process, the 3 steps are usually very subtle. Also, I don't think families are aware of what they're doing. What I mean is that families have been functioning a certain way for so long, it's just who they are.
Yeah, and that's very true. So it's not something that they're consciously attempting to do. It's just something that, hey, this is just a natural, instinctive human response.
Right, and most families have been operating a certain way for so long, they can't see that they are attempting to pull the person back into the emotional process.
So let's take a few moments and discuss how this looks.
Okay.
So, we talked about the 3, and the first one was when we raise our emotional response, we raise our level of functioning. The first response is, you are wrong. And not the first response, but one of the responses that families give to try to pull the person back in is, you are wrong. It makes me think about Godfather Part 3. Everything in life can be referenced through the Godfather or through Trading Places. Those two
No.
movies are everything in life. Godfather and Trading Places. But
He
the first
always
one,
has a 90s reference for something.
the 80s.
80s and 90s.
80s. I'm locked in the 80s. Never got out of the 80s. So the first one is you are wrong. Do you have an example of how it may look when someone is trying to tell their family, when a family member increases their level of maturity, and they're trying to, and one of the other family members are trying to pull them back in by saying you are wrong? Can you give an example of how that looks?
Well, one example is if someone is not allowing a family member to come to you with gossip about another family member.
Okay, so that's a good example. I think this one we can use to kind of run through all of them. And so, yes, one good example will be, a family member says, I'm not going to gossip. Let's use that one. A family member saying, I'm not going to gossip anymore.
Or allow you to gossip to me about another family member.
I'm not gonna be the middleman anymore.
Right.
I'm not gonna, and there's a fancy clinical term. I'm not gonna allow you to triangulate me into y'all's issues anymore. And then oftentimes family members will say things, such as, you are wrong. And by that, they may say something such as, you're wrong. People need someone that they can talk to. They need someone that they can confide in. They need someone who's going to be there for them. And so, it's that you are wrong.
Yeah. What you mean you're not going to listen?
Yeah, what do you mean you're not going to listen? I thought,
you're supposed to be my sister.
Yeah, or you supposed to be my brother, or we family, or whatever it may be. Right. Yeah. The second thing that people will try to say is that you need to change back.
Oh, wow.
And they'll do this, by saying, hey, listen, everybody needs somebody they can confide in.
Right.
And if you really care, you would be there for me.
If I can't talk to you, who am I going to talk to?
Yeah, if I can't talk to you, who am I going to talk to? And that's, in essence, again, some variation of you are wrong, but it's also an attempt to say you need to go back to the old way that you used to do things. And then another approach, which is usually the last one, is the most drastic one, is if you do not, these are the consequences. And how might they articulate these are the consequences?
Well, yeah, if I can't talk to you, I'm just not going to talk to you about anything. If I can't talk to you about what Auntie so-and-so did, I'm just going to talk to you about anything. Or I'm just going to keep my conversations to a minimum. They themselves withdrawing, but not in a healthy way. And
so what they're trying to say is if you're not willing to do this, then I'm going to,
check out.
Yeah, I want to check out my level of consequences. And sometimes it's not as overt as we just said.
Right.
Sometimes you'll notice that they start, you get less invitations. They make little snide comments. These are punishment tactics. Making little snide comments off on the side. Things such as, and I love this one. Oh, well, he's all holy now, or she's going through this new little thing. She's got her new little resolutions going on. So you can't talk to her about these things, or he thinks he's better than us now. And these are little tactics to try to coerce you to say, hey, listen, if you don't pull back, then we're going to emotionally attack you, or we're going to ostracize you. There will be consequences. And here is a reference from the 2000s. There will be blood. But here's the good news. Well, you said I'm stuck in the 80s and the 90s. So I just gave a reference from something in the 2000s.
Well, I don't even know where that's from.
There was a movie called There Will Be Blood.
Go back to the 90s or the 80s.
Yes, there was a movie about an oil baron, and the movie was entitled There Will Be Blood.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, so what's the good news?
Okay, so here's the good news, since I have to explain all of my movie references. Murray Bowen goes on to say that if you can stay on course without defending yourself or counterattacking, the emotional reaction from your family will usually be brief. And here's the good part. At the end of the day, they will actually express appreciation. It's going to seem intense, it's going to seem hard, but it'll actually be brief. And then at the end of the day, there'll usually be some appreciation.
Okay.
And so what we don't want to do, this is the main thing, we don't want to go into the tit for tat. We want to maintain our maturity without doing one of two things: attacking or defending ourselves. We do not want to counterattack or defend ourselves. So here's some examples of how we can attack or defend ourselves, in that situation. So give me an example of how we can attack.
We would attack if you say that you need someone to talk to, but all you're doing is gossiping.
Okay, so now I'm coming at them. Yeah.
Right.
So the person is now trying to tell you that you're wrong by saying, I need someone, you should be there for me because people need someone they can talk to.
I need someone to talk to, but all you're doing is gossiping.
Oh, okay, yes. So I'm really taking a little stab at them. Oh, you don't need somebody to talk to, you just gossiping.
Right.
Okay, so that's a good counterattack.
Yeah.
One fist of iron, the other of steel. If the right one don't get you, then the left one will.
90s.
No, that's way before the 90s. That's back in the 50s.
Oh.
Yeah. You load 16 tons, and what do you get?
All right. Gotcha.
Don't get me sidetracked.
You're right.
All right. Examples of how we can defend ourselves. Give me an example of how we can defend ourselves.
So you can say, like, in the past, I've been caught in the middle of y'all's argument. I'm trying to avoid confusion.
Okay. So you're giving a long, elongated explanation as to why you're doing what you're doing.
I'm not gonna get caught up in the middle of y'all's mess.
So that's kind of like an attack and a defense at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of like you weaved underneath the left hook and then came over with a right cross of your own. Yeah. So that's defend and attack all in one. Well, you're pretty good at this. Do you have any experience?
No, I'm not very good at it.
Listen, one day when I'm here and she's not, I'll tell y'all the whole story. I'll give y'all the whole thing. I'm
not good at it.
Let me talk a little bit about defending ourselves, since she says that that's not her natural thing. It's natural to try and defend yourself, especially even more so sometimes than counterattacking. It can become natural to try to defend yourself because we often feel that if we can convince people with our strong, reasonable arguments, then they'll be more understanding and they'll become more cooperative. So, all of us have this lawyer in us that if I just present a sound, strong enough argument, then I'll convince them. And so that's how we end up getting into this whole thing about defending ourselves. We already know about counterattacking, but I want to stick with defending a little bit because it usually comes from the right place. But I want to share something with you that I shared with you last time that we were here. It's by Michael Kerr and Murray Bowens in their book, Family Evaluation, page 284. It says, if one person, just one, if one person takes the first step towards being more of an individual, eventually other family members will follow that lead. Okay. People get stifled by wanting others to take the lead. Now, I think that's just so.
And it worked.
Yeah, it works. But we usually get stifled, as they say, because we want someone else to take the lead.
Right. The natural thing to do is to get caught up in the family's reaction to your growth. You attack me, I'm going to attack you. But all this does is bring you back to where you already were.
That's so true. And one of the main purposes of Tune Up Tuesday is to break the cycle of counterproductive emotional reactions and responses. At some point, somebody has to step forward and say, I'm no longer going to be what I've always been. And this is how a family becomes healthy.
Starts with one, right?
It starts with one.
Okay, well, you know what? I have some good news.
Before you say that, I want to say this.
Okay.
I know that you have no intentions on being the mature one. So I'm going to step up. Okay. And see, this is not attacking and it's not defending. I'm not attacking or defending. I'm just stating a fact. I'm going to step up and be the mature person in this relationship. Okay. I'm not going to wait on you any longer. Okay. Yeah, because I've been waiting a long time.
Okay, appreciate that. And by that statement, we know who's the more mature one. All right, so there's no homework for this week.
Oh, that is good news.
That's right. However, I do want our viewers to spend some time thinking about how you want your family to function. Wow, that's it.
That's it.
We'll be back next week at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Tune Up Tuesdays, because even the smoothest running families need a Tune Up Tuesday. See you next week.
We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you for watching Tune Up Tuesday. You can connect with us on Facebook or check out our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org. Again, thank you for watching, and tune in next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another insightful episode of Tune Up Tuesday. Seasoned with Grace Unboxed also provides healthy relationship training and leadership development for businesses, churches, and community organizations. For a free consultation to discuss your team's needs, please contact us at our website at swg-unboxed.org. That's swg-unboxed.org.